でも今じゃそんなこと忘れて何かから逃げるように前のチャラが見過ごしてた景色は億千万億千万突き去りしきさずはグラビティ君がくれた勇気は億千万億千万過ぎ去りし季節はもうドラマティー
What? Greetings, friends. Buzzsaw Righteous here. Man, I'm just really tired today for some reason. I don't know if it's from working hard or hardly working or both. I sometimes have days where I just want to stay in bed, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here. Yeah, I mean, there are jobs to get to, chores to do, and dinner to cook, but, I mean, it could probably wait a while. But, you know what? You guys just watch the video, okay? I need 5 more minutes. Just 5 more minutes. Alright, everybody. There's nothing like kicking back and relaxing after a hard day's work, and also having a good night's sleep to help finish things off. Like with eating, sleep and rest is very important for maintaining good health and recharging your batteries for the next day. But more times than not, people often rest more than they should, often shirking duties and things they need to do. And if left unchecked, it leads to general apathy and lack of energy, which attributes to what is known as sloth, or laziness. Such laziness can be detrimental to all kinds of progress, both pertaining to the individual or group of people, and therefore could lead to a breakdown of society on a grand scale. After all it takes is one domino to bring down the whole set. Here, I have found 10 video game characters that epitomizes laziness and apathy, and even some that weaponizes it. So, you can imagine, other than the usual one per franchise rule, I am including characters that are lazy, sleep a lot, apathetic towards others, and even characters that use sleep to their advantage. And of course, stay awake and vigilant for the potential spoilers that may be ahead. This is going to be one interesting list, so I'm going to need the essentials. Hey, where's my pillow and warm milk? I did say in the past there was going to be a return to certain franchises on these lists, didn't I? And if you were expecting a franchise other than Persona 5 to appear on this list, well, I think the girl herself said it best.
Too bad. I win!
Yes, friends, it's the Phantom Thieves Hacker Supreme and everyone's favorite nerdy waifu, Futaba Sakura. Even though she is the representation of sloth in this game, she is definitely apart from all the others, as she is not at all a bad person. She's basically a shut-in, not leaving her house and interacting with anyone other than her legal guardian Sojiro, and only ever sees the world through a computer screen. Thing is, other than others I'll be talking about, it's not entirely her fault, as all this started since the death of her mother in front of her eyes, and had recently began to suffer crippling hallucinations as a result.
Child.
You killed her!
You're a plague
What's with that
murderer!
look? Why don't you say
You're
something?
the one who killed her! That's right. I killed Mom. I don't deserve to be alive. This place is a tomb. I'll die here.
That's right! Die!
Don't come near me!
Don't just stand there, say something!
It's your fault! No! Someone help me!
This leads her to seek the Phantom Thieves' help, having already deduced who they are, and offering to help stop a hacktivist group called Medjed threatening them should they succeed in stealing her heart. They enter her palace, which takes the form of a pyramid, and solve its many puzzles to get to the center where the treasure is located. but they run into a roadblock in the form of a Sphinx monster that takes the form of her dead mother. In a surprising twist, Futaba finds a way into her own palace, and with the help of her own shadow, faces down her fears and comes to terms with what really happened to her mother. This leads to her shadow becoming a persona, and to her becoming a phantom thief as well, helping them to stop the monster and ultimately freeing Futaba from her painful hallucinations. Afterwards, she gets some well-deserved rest and keeps her end of the bargain in stopping Medjed at the last possible minute. Yeah, depending on when you conquer Futaba's palace, you'll be waiting a while till the day of Medjed's supposed attack, and she even needed reminding of the task, showing that she is a bit of a procrastinator. Procrastination is a common trait among lazy people, myself included, and Futaba is a pretty good example of one, hence why she's on the list. She soon overcomes her slothful tendencies and social anxiety and becomes a quirky and valuable member of the Phantom Thieves, with swift keystrokes and weird headgear. Oh, I love this girl so much. If there is one thing that really grinds my gears, it's lazy coworkers. You try to get work done, and it would be nice if that one person helped you out. Only that same person did little to nothing at all to help you. And there are times that get away with that behavior. It tends to happen at almost every job that is out there. But what about law enforcement? While I don't know of any real-world examples, there is an example to be found in a detective strategy game called L.A. Noire. Taking place in 1940s Los Angeles, you play the role of Cole Phelps, a passionate law officer who quickly works up the ranks from an eager patrolman to a dedicated detective, and has a real eye for finding clues, asking the hard questions, and solving mysteries. And like any good law enforcement officer, he is often paired up with a partner to help him out and watch his back. Upon being promoted to the Homicide Division, he receives a new partner in the form of veteran detective and number 9 on our list, Rusty Galloway. Upon first impression, Rusty strikes me as the world-weary type. You know, the kind of person who has seen it all, done it all, and just has little to no appetite for drama. In fact, when he and Cole happen upon some murders that bear the possibility of a serial killer on the loose, Rusty often tries to shoot down that notion, saying that there's been numerous investigations into serial killings that turned up nothing, and often bringing up the age-old chestnut that it was the jealous ex-husband that did it. Each and every time. I don't know about you, but to me it just seems like Rusty just wants to get things over with and be done with the day already. In that vein, here are a few instances where he doesn't exactly fit the profile of a hard-working cop. During the first case, when Cole goes to the back of a bar to question someone, Rusty decides to help by helping himself to a drink in the middle of the day while he's working. And later on, as the search for the serial killer heats up, there are instances where he just stays behind and lets Cole do all the heavy work.
I'm pulling rank here, Cole. I'm not hauling myself up there. Go get him, Tiger.
These are my best shoes, Phelps. I'll leave you to it.
You ever been in here, Galloway?
No, I have no intention of going in. I heard that thing's tricky. I'm gonna wait here and have a quiet smoke. Think about hidden meetings.
Horse hockey.
Wow, Cole. What a great partner you have watching your back from that bench. Exemplary detective work, Rusty. I know this is just a game, and I'm not privy to how they did things in the 1940s, but if Rusty was doing this in the present time, he'd most likely be suspended or fired, and years of service wouldn't amount to jack. Despite all this, though, he doesn't actively try to hinder or even stop Cole, and he does pull through for him in a couple of occasions, hence why he is low on the list. If you ever need a policeman, don't call Rusty. Dude's probably stuck at the bar anyway. Here we have another example of the lazy worker trope, and it comes from none other than the Legend of Zelda series. You know, looking at the series as a whole, Link himself could be a contender for this list, since at the start of almost every game he is found sleeping in some way, shape, or form, and often has to be jolted awake in order to undertake his perilous journeys. In all honesty, though, he doesn't spend all of his time sleeping, just at the beginning, and the rest of the time he's working hard to save Hyrule. It's also mostly why Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII isn't on the list. They're just not lazy enough compared to the choices I've made. But more on Final Fantasy later. On to Zelda. The game we are looking at for this list is Ocarina of Time, so I'm sure you now have some idea of where I'm going with this. Upon reaching Hyrule Castle for the first time, you soon run into the young girl Malon, who is standing around waiting for her father to return. Her father being the sleepy ranch owner, Talon. Funnily enough, Talon's first appearance in the Zelda series was actually in Link's Awakening, where his name is Taron, and he's less sleepy and more of a goofy middle-aged man who gets stung by bees and turns into a raccoon after eating a mushroom. Yeah, Link's Awakening is weird, but back to Talon. Upon meeting Malon outside the gates of Hyrule Castle, she gives you a Kuko egg and asks you to sneak in and go find her father. You'll find him sleeping outside the other side of the castle, and using the Kuko newly hatched from the egg you have, you wake him up and he runs off. Later, you visit Lon Lon Ranch, where you learn Epona's song from Malon, meet the overworked, underappreciated ranch hand Ingo, and run into Talon. He's sleeping again? I know he accused Rusty of being lazy before, but at least he was, conscious. Soon Talon's laziness comes back to bite him in the butt, as 7 years later, after Ganondorf has conquered Hyrule, Ingo finally snaps, kicks Talon out of the ranch, and assumes complete control. A newly adult Link learns this from Talon himself when he finds him in Kakariko-ville. Are you kidding me? What is he, a narcoleptic? Fortunately, Ingo gives up the ranch after you race him a couple of times with Epona and escape, and Talon returns and promises to be more of a hard worker from here on out. Hopefully that jolt to the system remains permanent. I just realized something. Lon Lon milk, which is produced at the ranch, is a common drink in Hyrule, and milk is known for helping people get to sleep. Hey Talon, word to the wise, maybe you should lay off the milk and get a couple pots of black coffee in the system. Might go a long way. Wow, it's been a while since I talked about Fire Emblem. Last time I placed a spotlight upon an overly jealous king. Now we're about to delve in and find the laziest fighter in this series. Honorable mentions go out to Har from Path of Radiance, and Linhardt from Three Houses is a good example of the lazy student trope, and I almost picked him for this list. But after weighing all the nuances of each choice before me, I went with the one who I felt was the laziest of everyone here combined. And this choice is found in what is considered to be the black sheep of the franchise, Fire Emblem Fates. Regardless of which version you play, here is where we will meet the ever-sleepy, haiku-spouting shrine maiden, Mitama. In the 12th paralogue of the game entitled Sweet Dreams, Corrin's group happens upon Mitama's village, which is under attack by a wave of enemies. If you wish to recruit Mitama, you need to get her father Azama to her village almost right away, and upon reaching her shrine, you come to find that she just woke up and was sleeping the whole time as you fought. There are thieves and assassins all around her, possibly out to kill her, and she slept through the whole thing? And I thought Talon was the narcoleptic. This girl's a good example of sleeping through a train wreck. And wouldn't you know it, right after saving her lazy butt, she tries to go back to sleep.
Unbelievable.
It takes some prodding from Azama to get her to come out and get into the fight. Ironic considering how apathetic Azama himself can be at times. Heck, he was a contender for this list as well. At the end of the fight, Mitama goes to heal Corrin, and it is noted by her father that she did that without being nagged into doing it. This fact confirms Mitama's overall tendency to be a lazy person, as she would rather sleep and write haikus than fight in battle or even train. and she has to be virtually dragged along by Azama in order to do anything. She even notes how exhausting it is to heal Corin. Seriously, girl, ever hear of 5-hour energy? Still though, she becomes a well-to-do ally in battle with high luck and speed stats and able to promote to either a priestess class or an Onmyoji class with some proper leveling up. Speaking of her haikus, she often does that on the fly and speaks in haiku in order to express her own feelings, and soon becomes a celebrated poet at the end of the game. Well, I guess speaking in haiku at her father's demands is better than having a temper tantrum after waking from her nappy nap. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not much a fan of MMORPGs. Don't get me wrong, I'm not out to dunk on their history. Games like World of Warcraft and League of Legends deserve their place in history as some of the greatest and most influential games ever made. They're just not for me. In all honesty, I'm a tad intimidated by them. Playing as one warrior amongst a whole group of warriors, I'd be afraid of literally getting lost in the crowd and not being much use to anyone. And as for the buttloads of lore attached to each game, as well as frequent retcons, it hurts my head just thinking about it, and I'm very reluctant to delve in. But if I'm going to start talking about a character from an MMO, I might as well start with a game in a series that's a little in my comfort zone. Final Fantasy XIV. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to do the best I can on this. Final Fantasy XIV is well known for being a lackluster game after its first initial launch, and after a new development team took over, managed to fix all of the issues with it in the most awesome way possible. Since then, the game has become a largely huge success, bringing in almost 22 million subscribers as of 2021, as well as introducing 4 different expansion packs that feature 4 different storylines. For the purposes of this list, let us turn to Shadowbringers, where a group of heroes travel through an alternate dimension defeating creatures referred to as Sin Eaters, which are apparently led by powerful entities called Light Wardens. Eventually, your travels lead you to a grand city called Yulmore, where you'll find that in the midst of an imminent apocalypse, the people there are all, "Oh, the world's ending? I think I'll just have a drink and go dancing." Yeah, pretty much everyone there is indulging in a state of indolent ecstasy despite the approaching end times, hence why the city is called the City of Final Pleasures. And it's all thanks to this lump of wasted space, Vothri. Stuck up and privileged doesn't even begin to describe this guy. Being the leader of Yulmore, he often gives the air of an apathetic ruler, and he's often seen reclining around a bevy of Sin Eaters that he can control. Being lazy is one thing, but what really puts him on this list is his encouragement of lazy habits towards his own people, having utterly convinced them that it's better to enjoy themselves in the moment than to worry about the future that may never come. This is more dangerous than it sounds, as he uses this to exert control over the masses, and is more than willing to send armed soldiers to stop anyone from getting in the way of that, including our protagonists. Oh, and he often throws temper tantrums if things don't go his way, and he thinks of himself as a god. Yeah, he's pretty out there and has the chops to back up that latter notion later on. Upon returning to Yulmore later, you'll find that he has fed the people pieces of his own Sin Eaters, ew, and turned them into mindless zombies, and feeding them to himself to sprout tiny little wings, where it is revealed that he is, in fact, a Light Warden. With the help of the now freed townspeople, they chase him to Mount Gulg, where after a brief fight with them, his inner power manifests and turns him into... Oh.
This is the passion of my ascension. Anywhere, I shall embrace this triumph.
Oh my.
Vothri goes through some major weight loss and proceeds to unleash even stronger attacks on your party. A tough battle to be sure, but not impossible. Once he's beaten, he gives a woe is me type speech, a trait coupled with the tantrums is common among lazy people being shaken out of their inactivity. He fades away for good, and in the end, the people of Yulmore strive to break wealth barriers and become a more productive beacon of society. It's proof positive that when you break free of any lazy stupor and work hard, you can really get things done. We've taken a pretty good look at some lazy characters in the previous segments and how they overcome their laziness or not. Now it's time to look at an interesting subversion of the trope. Characters that weaponize their laziness. Not characters who encourage laziness in others like Vothri did, but characters who use laziness to their advantage in battle. So, when you think of a lazy fighter, who usually comes to mind?
Hi!
Oh, hi Kirby. Nice to see you again. I already talked about Kirby in great length in my Big Eaters list, so you pretty much know what he does already. Kirby's copy ability gives him access to a vast number of powerful skills upon eating the right enemies. This includes the almighty... sleep ability? Wherein, upon eating an enemy called a naughty, he has the ability to... sleep. And that's it. Yeah, all it does is make Kirby sleep for several seconds, leaving him open to attacks from enemies, and it doesn't even heal him. It just serves to hinder Kirby on his adventures. Heck, in Kirby Superstar, there's a windy room full of sleep abilities in the Great Cave Offensive, where you must run against the wind and avoid them to get to the treasure chest at the end. Safe to say, it's going to take several tries to get that treasure chest, so hopefully you have some time on your hands. All in all, sleep is pretty much useless and doesn't really help Kirby at all. That is, until the 3DS game Kirby Battle Royale. Coming out in 2018, Kirby Battle Royale is an arena fighting game made up of several game modes and even a story mode. In the Battle Arena, Kirby has access to his much sought-after copy abilities, including 2 abilities that were added as DLC later on. Mirror and... sleep?
What the heck?
Actually, for the purposes of this game, they made sleep into a powerful ability and made it more than useful. Kirby does various attacks with a pillow, can actually use snot bubbles as a projectile weapon, gross, but effective, can actually replenish health by staying still and fall asleep, and finally place nightcaps on opponents' heads and make them fall asleep. Now that's what I call a sleep ability. Sleep may be an obstacle in previous games, but in Battle Royale, it turns Kirby into a sleep warrior to be feared. Kirby's sleep ability was finally given teeth in Kirby Battle Royale, making him into a formidable sleep fighter. But what about a sleep fighter in a traditional fighting game? Pretty unheard of, right? Well, that was until 2016 when the 14th installment of King of Fighters dropped. As many know, SNK's King of Fighters series is an interesting alternative fighting series to Street Fighter, often focusing more on tournament fighting using characters from various other SNK fighters in games like Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, Ikari Warriors, and others. It also has original characters within its own series, and has often crossed over with Capcom on numerous occasions. The relative insanity this series exhibits leaves a lot of people begging for more, and it is beyond my own comprehension. So let's cut to the chase and look at the one warrior that actually uses his favorite pillow as a lethal weapon. I kid you not.
Meiten-kun.
よし、やるぞ。
Meiten-kun seems less like an indomitable fighter and more like that lazy kid invited to a weekend slumber party. He's always yawning, always looks like he's ready to pass out, and always wearing what looks like Chinese pajamas. But as the old saying goes, looks can be deceiving. He may look like less of a threat due to his apparent narcolepsy, but after a lot of practice in the hands of a capable player, he can be quite a powerful force to be reckoned with. Unlike Kirby though, he doesn't exhibit a lot of sleep-inspired moves and attacks, other than using his pillow as his own personal Hadouken, and his sleepiness can be a weakness after using one of his special moves, so I would keep the pace going if I were you. What puts Meiten-kun above Kirby though, other than his abilities not being DLC, is his lore. His fighting style incorporates his laziness in what is called a really long name that I cannot pronounce without sounding stupid, so let's refer to it by its translated name, the 8 Extremities Sleepy Fist. Think Drunken Fist, but without all the alcohol. So, basically, it's sleep foo?
You know, it sounds weird when I say it out loud. Sleep foo. I wonder how that would work. Nah, it sounds silly in real life, but hey, it works for this guy.
And according to the wiki, his sleepiness gives him stronger control over his chi, and even gives him 100% access to his full strength when he makes his brain fall asleep, when apparently normal humans only have 30% access. Yikes. That's a frightening thought for someone who could hibernate longer than a grizzly bear on Sominex. I bet that he could even knock your head clean off in a pillow fight. And considering he actually wields a pillow in battle, he just might. There's quite a lot to choose from in the Pokemon franchise, and like with the previous list, they possess moves that emphasize sleep and laziness. Slackoth and its future evolution Slowking are major contenders, with their signature move being a healing move called Slack Off, and they certainly look the part because, well, they're literal sloths. Generation 1 brought us Drowsy and Hypno, who have built themselves around the concepts of hypnosis and sleep, and even have a powerful move called Wake Up Slap that deals double damage to sleeping opponents. And Jigglypuff! It could make this list with its Smash Brothers rendition of the rest attack alone. Sleeping Giants is one thing, but a sleeping Jigglypuff is all kinds of yikes. But, sorry guys, I have a promise to keep. And after being passed over for big eaters, it's finally time.
Snorlax.
A lot of the characters on this list have other things going for them, but for Snorlax, apart from battling at the behest of its trainer, eating and sleeping is all it ever does. As I have stated in the previous list, while Snorlax is a big eater in the sense that it can eat up to 900 pounds of food a day, even if the food is moldy, as its various Pokédex entries implies, it is definitely more defined as a sleeper. Heck, its Pokédex entry in Moon says it can even eat while sleeping. More proof in the pudding right there. Combined with high HP and attack stats, it has a lot of offensive moves that makes it a force to be reckoned with. However, Snorlax's claim to fame is 4 of its sleep-style moves. It can use Yawn to put opposing Pokemon to sleep, but most notably, it can use Rest to put itself to sleep for 2 turns and fully heal HP. But don't think it's helpless just because it's sleeping, oh no. It actually has 2 attacks you can use during your 2-turn siesta. Sleep Talk has Snorlax using other moves in its repertoire, even if the move is out of PP or disabled. And of course, there's Snore. Yes, Maytenkun may throw a mean pillow, and Kirby has deadly snot bubbles, but Snorlax can hurt you with its snoring. Think of that next time you complain about someone snoring keeping you up at night. All of this definitely makes it a superior sleep fighter, its Gigantamax form in Sword and Shield notwithstanding. But what really puts it over the previous 2 fighters is how you meet it in the course of your adventure. In the Gen 1 and Gen 6 games, you'll find that in each game, Snorlax will be sleeping in the middle of the road, blocking your progress. And it's a pretty heavy sleeper, it ain't gonna budge. What you need to do is use the Poke Flute, and once it wakes, well, yeah, I know I quipped about sleeping giants with Jigglypuff, but if you want a true example of waking a sleeping giant, Snorlax is your Mon. Pokemon? Yeah, I'll just excuse myself now. So, I wonder how I'm going to top a bunch of sleep fighters and lazy workers. While my choice for the runner-up spot may seem kind of minuscule in the subject of laziness, if you consider the broader picture, his ability to fall asleep rather quickly actually was a major factor in saving the world once. This is something that not even the previous 8 have done, even though Futaba was a member of the Phantom Thieves and Mitama was a priestess helping out Korin's group. True, they were heroes in their own right, but their laziness wasn't an actual strength compared to our number 2. And after being the 10th best on my Green with Envy list, he finally moved up in the world. You did good, Luigi. Revisiting the jealousy angle for a moment, I have to say, Luigi does have one thing that all people, myself included, can be jealous of. Being able to fall right to sleep once your head hits the pillow. What I wouldn't give to be able to do that. Even though he's a little more alert than Meitenkun, he can fall asleep pretty quickly once he gets settled in. Seems pretty useless and even a nice idle animation in some cases, but it soon becomes a very positive boon in Mario and Luigi Dream Team. Here, the brothers find their way to a place called Paillo Island. And when they find a strange pillow that Luigi takes a nap on, Peach is then kidnapped by a mysterious figure later revealed to be Antasma the Bat King. Long story short, the pillow is revealed to be a Paillo named Prince Dreambert, and our heroes go through the island and some dream worlds to save Peach from Antasma and Bowser, who shows up later and takes over as main villain. Meh, go figure. The big feature of this game is that more strange pillows, revealed later to be Dreambert's own Paillo people, are hidden throughout the island, and once Luigi conks out on each pillow, it opens up a portal to the dream world that Mario jumps into. In the dream world, Luigi helps out his brother in a huge way. Referred to as Dreamy Luigi in the dream world, he can possess various objects to help Mario progress to places, and even create other versions of himself to come together and help Mario spring jump, ground pound, levitate, and roll around. And in battle, Luigi helps out with some really powerful brothers attacks that really brings new meaning to the term one-man army. And for the showstopper, in some parts, Luigi will gather his inner strength, bringing all the Dreamy Luigis together to form a giant Dreamy Luigi made to take down big threats like an entire mountain, a giant robot made of buildings, and even Bowser himself. The heroes manage to defeat Antasma and a dreamy version of Bowser, save Peach, and bring peace back to Paillo Island. And all of this because Luigi is such an easy sleeper. Anyone could have really slept on the Paillos, but honestly, could they have fallen asleep as easily as Luigi? I doubt it. You did absolutely nothing to save the world, Luigi, and you at least deserve the silver medal for that. I think I pretty much covered about every kind of lazy person out there. A few lazy workers, one procrastinator, someone who encourages laziness in others, and some who weaponize laziness. My choice for number 1 actually has a little bit of each of these traits, and is one of the most influential characters in one of the most influential video games ever made. You can't get any more lazy or any more apathetic and any more influential than Sans. It was a long time coming, but it's finally time to talk about that indie game to top all indie games, Undertale. There's no mistaking the impact Undertale has made on video games in general, having won several awards and inspiring cosplays, merchandise, and even an episodic sequel in Deltarune. All of this from a game about a human child working his way back from the underground to the world of humans. Along the way, he meets a lot of monsters and has the chance to either fight them or spare them. More on that later. Most notably, this includes the lovable goat mom Toriel, the captain of the Royal Guard Undyne, and of course, the Skeleton Brothers. The hardworking, well-meaning rookie Papyrus and his short, lazy little brother, Sans. After exiting the ruins and entering Snowdin, Sans is the first monster you casually meet, and he presents himself as a laid-back guy who loves conversation, whoopee cushions, and really awful puns.
Yeah, I get it.
Throughout Snowdin, you run into Sans and Papyrus, and Papyrus often tries to trap you through well-thought-out puzzles that he worked very hard to create. There's even a puzzle Sans himself devised, which is a word search puzzle. Yeah, safe to say he isn't helping his brother out much in ensnaring the protagonist, and it is shown that his indolent behavior almost rubs off on his brother at one point. Heck, you'll find 2 snowmen somewhere in Snowden made by the 2 brothers, and I'll leave you to guess which one Sans made. Though, if you've been sparing monsters lately, he'll encourage you to play along with Papyrus and even gives you a few tips along the way. He'll even pop up in various places to sell you stuff and shoot the breeze, and even take you out to eat on one occasion, where he is so nice enough to let you pay for everything. Nah, not really. It's all well and good if you've been sparing monsters, but let's say you decide to kill all monsters in a path commonly known as the genocide route. You will only see Sans and Snowden, and just before you face off against Papyrus, he will issue a stark warning against you should you continue on your murderous crusade, and then disappears, never to be seen until near the end of the game. So you continue on your killing spree until you reach the last corridor and find Sans waiting for you. He has seen what you've done, and is not willing to stand by any longer. And once you take a couple of steps forward... oh my goodness!
I think my heart just stopped.
What kind of battle is this? He unleashes a barrage of attacks that are hard to predict and keep you very much on your toes, and as the battle progresses, they become more unpredictable, more hard to avoid, and definitely more frenetic. And what's worse, he keeps avoiding all your attacks no matter how precise you are with your hits. He just went from being your best buddy sharing burgers with you in a bar to a pint-sized Grim Reaper! Having seen the damage you have done in the underground, he is not going to take it easy on you and will show you absolutely no mercy. And in that one moment he seems to show you mercy, don't be fooled. He will not stop until you are dead. And if you manage to survive this massive onslaught, he will get tired and then proceed to perform his special attack. And being high on anxiety already, I just can't wait to see what this is. So what's the attack? Sans? Hello, Sans? Earth to Sans!
Well, we're waiting.
Yes, this is his attack. Nothing. He does nothing. Breaking the fourth wall of video games, he decides that after you've had your turn, he is not going to do anything with his. No attacks, no defense, no running, nothing. He's just going to stand there and stare at you for all eternity, which in the grand scheme of things is a pretty bold move. Imagine in an RPG where after you attack, the opponent just does nothing. You'd think the game froze up or something. Nothing will happen. Kirby and Mayten can weaponize their pillows and Snorlax weaponize snoring, but Sans has weaponized his apathy! He is more than content to be stuck in literal limbo with you until you either turn the game off or drop dead from boredom. Fortunately, this can be worked against him, as when he falls asleep, you can move your box over to the fight command, and after missing once...
That was a bit anticlimactic.
I think I have pled my case for Sans here. He's a lazy worker in the same vein as Rusty, Talon, and Mitama, encourages apathy, albeit unintentionally, like Vothri did, finally acts against you in a vicious act of procrastination that would make Futaba blush, and uses his aforementioned weaponized apathy against you in a bid to stop you from causing any more carnage, just as Luigi did to save Paillo Island in Dream Team. It's safe to say that Sans is the epitome of laziness in video games, and I can't think of anyone better to put at the #1 spot.
Now, I could end the video here, but just to further justify Sans' place at #1, let me offer this analysis. Sans himself is a popular representative of the game of Undertale. I mean, his inclusion in Smash Ultimate as a Mii fighter costume says it all. Now, how would you react if I told you that not just Sans, but the game of Undertale as a whole is a good commentary on sloth and laziness? Let me explain.
What's the one thing you do in an RPG? You kill monsters, gain experience, and get stronger. If you didn't, you probably wouldn't get very far, and it is pretty much the gold standard of any RPG out there. With Undertale, it employs the same concept, but also turns it flat on its head. As I said before, you can kill monsters or spare them. Killing monsters helps you to get stronger, but if you decide to spare monsters, it just gets harder as you pretty much stay at level 1 the whole time, putting you on an opposite path known as the pacifist run. Now here is where I mention the concept of a hard day's work and apply it to Undertale. Playing through the pacifist run pits you against the true final boss, and it is surprisingly not that hard to beat, and it gets you a bittersweet, albeit happy ending. Playing the genocide run pits you against Sans, and you will probably die. Repeatedly. And when you prevail, this nets you a bad ending that will probably give you nightmares for a while. Oh, and there's also a neutral run, too, where you spare some monsters and kill some monsters, and, well, let me put it this way.
I'm a brave boy. Not a brave enough boy for this!
Now, taking in the concept of a hard day's work, you'd think that the hard work isn't trying to grind for experience like any other RPG. But Undertale is definitely not your typical RPG. The hard work is in sparing the monsters and surviving the game at level 1 experience. And grinding for experience is the easy way out. You'd find much greater rewards in taking in a hard day's work, whatever the rewards may be. So if you put in the hard work in playing the pacifist route, you'll definitely get the best reward the game can offer you. Take the easy way out, however, and you'll be in for a bad time. And Sans proves to be one heck of a reality check.
My name is Buzzsaw the Righteous, and I tell you, after that Sans segment, my heart is really pumping. I feel wide awake now, so I think it's time to get this day started. So let me leave you with this. They say all work and no play makes for a dull day, but I say all play and no work makes a person a real jerk. Trust me, a healthy balance of hard work and rest is a lot more rewarding. Thanks for watching, and until we meet again, look sharp and stay righteous.
Mamma mia.
Clearly the nap's over.